Okay, PPZ3O students, this is your video for Unit 4. Title of this unit is Health Promotion. There's a Part A and a Part B. Part A deals with infectious and non-infectious diseases. This first slide, page and a half, you will have seen before. It was in our last unit, so it is just a little bit of a review. The rest you have not seen from in our class before. So we talked about infectious diseases. We're going to talk about transmission, so how we move them around from person to person or from animal to person, etc. How our body can defend against those diseases. There's a couple different ways. They're listed there. Immunity means you cannot get the disease, and there's a couple different ways to obtain immunity. Preventative measures, so to decrease your likelihood of catching this disease. Now what I want to point out to you is there are several blue links in this PDF. You've seen these blue links before. They'll take you to they'll take you to a website on the internet. Now these resources links here, if you see the word resources, sometimes it'll be highlighted and underlined, in red and underlined. These you'll not be tested or examined on, but and we'll go down to part 6 here. Any of these inside these little pink boxes here, these are little activities and games or quizzes that you can do, and the questions or the content, the information in here will possibly show up on a quiz or a test or an exam. So make sure you click these links and that you complete the little activities that follow. Part 7 talks about common infectious diseases. Most of these you've heard of: the common cold, influenza is just the flu. Infections of the nervous system, again, you've probably heard of one or both of those. Some STIs, sexually transmitted infections. Again, here's a little game activity you can go to test your information. Again, here's resources, so this is just for your information. You're not going to be quizzed or examined or tested on the information you find here. However, it's going to help you understand the content you're trying to learn. So non-infectious diseases, cardiovascular disease, very common one. Obviously a lot of information about that. Cancer as well, unfortunately very common. Here's another little activity. Please do that. And then some other non-infectious diseases: arthritis, diabetes. These would be good questions to do here. 1, 2, 3, and 4 with the answers. You might see those show up on a quiz or test, but again, resources not going to be tested. That's it for Part A. Part B deals with your health and the health of others, and we it just covers various topics here. The first one being organ, tissue, and blood donations. Again, some resources here that you will not be tested on, but you know, if any of you are interested in those things there, those are the links to their websites. Substance abuse, so we're talking about drugs and alcohol. Again, a little learning activity there. Second learning activity right there about drugs and alcohol. And again, this is the resources section, so you're not going to be examined or tested on that. And finally, a third learning activity on drugs and alcohol. Health careers. If you click this link here, it takes you to a page that has several health careers on it, and again, that is for your informational purposes only. I'm not going to examine or test you on that. First aid obviously can help others and possibly yourself. If you hurt yourself, you may apply first aid to yourself. Principles of the Good Samaritan. Anybody who's a Seinfeld fan will get a kick out of that. Most of you are probably too young to have watched Seinfeld. Priorities in an emergency. So what are you going to do if you get into an emergency situation? Secondary measures, those would be things that you do after the primary measures in an emergency. So this is kind of like in order here: what you would do first in an emergency and then what you would do second in an emergency. Again, good questions to ask yourself and make sure you can answer. They may show up on quizzes or tests. Types of emergencies here. So we've got open wounds. Under open wounds you might have bleeding, so what to do if somebody's bleeding. Another type of emergency would be burns. First degree, second degree, third degree. There's some first aid for burns. The third type would be bones and sprains. So what to do if you break a bone or you think that somebody has sprained something. And CPR. Now, this is just a general overview of CPR. This does not mean that you are certified and should be practicing CPR. And, if you run into the situation, my best advice, if you're interested in that, is to take a CPR course. That's the only way that you can guarantee you understand what's going on in CPR. And the last little blue link is right down there at the bottom. It's a first aid scenarios game. Once again, I would do that because it may show up in a quiz or a test.